The nighttime conditions here tonight at Phoenix, does that kind of help them with maybe a little bit of rear grip, especially off of that lower banking 1 and 2?
So what it'll do is it'll definitely tighten up the car a lot. So we'll have a little bit more leeway to play with. But what I'm more concerned about is when they get new tires. The track being colder, it's going to be taking a little bit longer to heat those tires up. So any restarts on those cold tires are definitely going to be a little bit iffy. We're going to have to see how that one plays out.
Well, the first two races of the season, J.W. Miller lined up on the pole position, but tonight it's Eric Schaus who puts down the fastest lap time, and he's going to be sharing row number 1 with Charles Teed as we show you the starting lineup here tonight. And we've had two races so far, Matt, where two drivers have picked up their first career wins here. J.W. Miller back at Michigan, and last week we saw Will Roberts, well actually I should say 2 weeks ago, we saw Will Roberts win up in the Northeast at New Hampshire. Do we continue that trend? Because a lot of other drivers in the field here tonight that we've seen in these first two races that have shown speed, and I've actually noticed a couple of drivers look like they're making their first starts of the season as well.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if I had to pick my favorites for tonight, I still go back to my old favorites where I look at Charles Teed. He has been on such a good run these past few weeks. I really think he's on the verge of at least getting one or having a breakthrough. But I go back and look a little bit more through the field. Like we have that Luis Gonzalez Nunez. He finished runner-up to Rick Ravon last season. And then I look a little bit further. I see Craig Forsyth, and you always know he is a force to be reckoned with whenever we get to any track.
25 drivers are going to roll off the grid. We showed you the drivers that took time, 16 of them in total. Joseph Morales, Brad Younkman, they're going to be row 9. DL Lemon and Glenn Lazan, they're going to complete the top 20. Jim Brooks, Joe McAdory, they're back in row 11. William Swenson, Elmer Joseph in row 12. And Brian Wright is going to bring up the rear in the 25th position. Mentioned about the fact that a couple of drivers making their first starts here tonight. One of them was very fast in practice, obviously very fast in qualifying as well, rolling off from the 5th position. Now, we should mention this is Taylor Jordan, not Jordan Taylor, so I did have to do a double take on that one, because I don't know.
Check his license? Are we sure
Yeah.
it's not Jordan Taylor?
I don't think so. I do not think it is. But, I mean, he showed speed, and so it's kind of an unknown driver of what he can bring to the table here tonight with the drivers that we've seen in these first two races, and, of course, drivers we've seen in the past in the Dark Horse Racing Series.
The big thing that kind of gets me is I was talking with some of the drivers pre-race, and they really were kind of stating that they're starting about 3rd to 4th gear. A lot of these drivers are not confident with the lower gears here, and obviously starting in 2nd or 1st would be advisable because you'd be able to get the power down a lot more, lower gear ratio, but the problem is these tires have no grip. They just can't handle, what was it, I think 20,000 RPM going through the back of these tires at once. So they're definitely going to have to play a little bit of the long game today.
No grip in the rear tires, and pit road may come into play. And so good luck trying to get that thing mowed down off of turn 2 and onto pit lane. But here they come through 3 and 4, the higher banked area of the racetrack, and it's going to be Eric Schaus getting us underway here tonight in the desert.
They all managed to fire off the line pretty well. Here's going to become really the big challenge, which is obviously we've had practice a lot. We've been watching these guys kind of race alone, but we haven't really seen them side by side. They've done a few practice restarts, but this is the real test.
Charles Teed got a nice run there out of turn 2, showed the nose down the back straightaway. He'll stay alongside off of 4, but it'll be Schaus leading the first lap.
Ooh.
Oh no, we got a spinner!
Taylor Jordan.
No caution. I think we got another spinner there up in turn 1, and we do. Caution is out.
And looks like that's Will Roberts currently in the fence.
Last week's winner.
It doesn't look like he damaged it too much, but man, that thing, I would say that's a tank slapper. that thing just came right back around on him.
So remember, too, one faster pair available for these drivers here, and I'm looking at that 31 of Will Roberts making his way down the back straightaway. Car looks a little skewed there. Might be pointed just a little bit to the left. Could have some suspension damage here in the early going.
Yeah, and that's what we're going to really deal with, where we got to keep these cars straight. And you're really worried about any suspension damage that I see is that's just going to be something that kind of slows you down. I mean, I'm looking at this Taylor Jordan reckon. That just... That thing barely touched the yellow line and it lost the back end.
Could it be a little... I've heard this term before. I don't know how much of a factor it really plays in. Maybe paint grip? I mean, we're here in Phoenix. Yes, it's nighttime conditions, but we are in the desert. It is hot, it is humid. Surface that is covered with paint is not going to have nearly as much grip as a piece of asphalt that does not have that paint on it. Could that slickness of the paint on those tires, could that have led to that car spinning around?
I think yes, because you just got to think of the difference of grip levels and really, it's almost like it's a more or less extreme version of whenever maybe a tire or a car touches grass, where it's a difference in grip levels. Obviously, the tire with better grip is going to end up dragging the car around, and that's what starts to spin. I think it's simply with this, where that paint is just a little bit less grippy than that racetrack, and it's just enough to make the left tire side tires lose grip, and the right side tire just go a little bit more and spins it right on around.
Looks like it was the 15 car of Chris Stouffer that tagged the back of Will Roberts. Take a look at it here. Yeah, just different lifting points that we're going to be seeing, obviously. We've ended up seeing that a couple of weeks ago at New Hampshire, so, well, they were all close together. We'll get probably a single file restart. Maybe things will get a little bit more spread out here as opposed to the double wide, but in all honesty, when you think about it, we kind of got away with one there. That could have been a lot worse, especially with both those incidents with Taylor Jordan and Will Roberts taking place up near the front of the field.
And that's the big thing that kind of has me a little bit worried. Where I saw that and I was like, "Man, this could be this could be big," and it wasn't big. It was only two cars. Hey, I think we really made out with one there.
We definitely did. Great job there by everybody to avoid the spinning cars, not make it worse than it was. A little question on Charles Teed. What happened to him off of turn number 2? Or actually, that was off of turn number 4. He kind of went down below the apron there. I don't think he was trying to. I think he maybe just got loose off that top side, but we'll keep tabs on that here. We've got 5 laps under our belt, getting ready for another restart here tonight, and Eric Schaus is going to be the one to get us back underway.
We get back green. Looks like everyone's getting the power down. A little bit of wobble there in the back.
It's Luis Gonzalez Nunez.
Car in the fence! Looks like that was Chris Stouffer. He looks like he's still
Kept it going.
fine. Yeah.
Yeah, kept going. He lost about maybe 15 miles per hour and is slowly starting to slide back, but a great job keeping that thing pointed in the right direction, and that's something we're going to have to keep tabs on here as well. Open wheel race cars, obviously there's going to be some damage sustained if you get up into the outside wall. Whoop, little contact maybe there from Matt Wagner off of turn number 2. I don't know. I guess it's going to be kind of like it was a couple weeks ago at New Hampshire. Depending on the violence of the impact will also depend on how well your car is going to handle for the remainder of the run.
And just an update. It looks like we had another spinner that last lap. It was Gary Corley. Same spot that we saw Taylor Jordan end up spinning around.
Another loop for Brandon Gates in the 76 I just saw on the telemetry was fast dropping down. No caution though.
And just looking, yeah, it looks like he ended up suffering the same fate. Looks like he's on pit road now. That is a tough break for him. He's had a very rough stretch of 2 races.
Yeah, last week. I keep saying last week. It was 2 weeks ago. Feels like last week at New Hampshire. Saw Brandon Gates looping it around quite a few times. I think 3 or 4 times. That 76 has really been having some problems with the lower banking racetracks. Might be very happy in a couple of weeks' time when we end up heading to the tricky triangle of Pocono.
Charles
good battle
T
here.
got way out of the groove. He's starting to fall back.
He was trying to put the pressure on Eric Schaus for the second position after J.W. Miller took the race lead, but yeah, to your point, got out of shape and now falls back into the clutches of Matt Wagner for 3rd place.
Ooh, I just looked back. He was entering turn 1. The back just stepped out of him in the corner. He did an amazing job to keep it off the fence, but lost a ton of time.
Whoa, good battle back here. That is side by side. And contact! And they saved it and now goes around. Does car of Luis Gonzalez Munoz, and we got someone up and over and upside down.
Looks like it was the 54, Sherdian Wade. Looks like he's going to be ending up towing it back, but...
Oh, man.
That just shows you.
DL Lemon in this, Joseph Morales as well. It's Morales who's rolling away. Or you just saw disappear was Lemon.
I think that was the culmination of a little bit of a disagreement on who had what space.
Yeah, well, it started off of turn 2. That's the funny thing because I was looking back and saw a move and a block between Camargo and Nunez, and it culminated to the contact we then eventually saw over into turn number 3. They almost had it saved actually, but then there was a second bit of contact that eventually spun the 14 around and led to what we saw for our second caution of the evening.
Yeah, so as they ended up going down into 3, it just looked like Luis thought he had more room down below, or uh, maybe that, uh, now that I kind of look at it, I think a gap whack may have had a little bit of a hand in that one. I'm
You
not.
saw there the 54 of Sheridan Wade. He was trying to get the thing woed down, and even before he has the contact from behind, but I think that was DL Lemon, that thing started to climb up on the rear wing of Luis Gonzalez Nunez.
Yeah, it just launched off of the car. It was shocking.
Is on board with the 54 of Sheridan Wade. This is going to be a wild ride here.
And just this
See up
will
ahead,
go and show you the reaction time that he had.
yeah, which is none.
See the instant happening in front of you, make a decision, go right, nope. And there you go, you go on the fence.
I mean, did you see the wheel there? He was turned hard left, and he could not get that thing down any lower than the middle groove.
Yeah, it's a terrible feeling. You're upside down, you see both your wheels hanging upside down. Like, man, this this isn't good.
No doubt. I think we're going to have maybe nearly a half dozen drivers that are going to have to take on their faster pair here in the early going. Should get the maybe one to green signal this time by. And nope, we got another lap of caution here. J.W. Miller out in front looking for his second win on the season. Eric Schaus, the pole sitter, lining up in second. Charles Teed, Matt Wagner, Eric Peterson, the top 5. Get a shout out to a couple of drivers that started outside of the top 10 and 15 laps in. Yes, granted, with the aid of a few cautions and some torn up race cars, but you look back there, just in the latter half of the top 10, Thomas Shannon McConnell in the 17 rolled off 16th, and he's in 8th, and Glenn Lazan started this race from 20th, and he's already up to 9th, so keep an eye on those drivers. They're obviously very good at picking up spots on these restarts.
And I'm just looking through the field here. There's some guys that we normally kind of see up here, but we don't normally have that great of runs, or maybe they just kind of get caught in some issues. One of those guys that I'm pointing out right now, I'm looking at Eric Peterson.
You had to
I'm-
say something.
I'm imagining all the ways he ends up spinning that car. I want to believe that it's not going to happen, but I know the moment we put
I
that
wasn't
camera
gonna
on him,
say it. I was hoping you weren't gonna say it, and you've just done it. Just ask the Magic 8 Ball what the outcome is, and I hope you don't get the answer.
but I mean,
All right,
look
so
at Glenn Lazan in the top 10.
yeah,
My goodness.
from 20th place. We've also got 21st place starter Jim Brooks up in 12th for this restart. So it looks like the drivers right now, as we prepare for this upcoming restart, that have already used their faster pairs include Will Roberts in the 31, Luis Gonzalez Nunez in the 14, and then also looks like Gary Corley, Sheridan Wade, DL Lemon, and Brandon Gates. So 6 drivers in total already do not have that mulligan available. There's still a long ways to go here tonight in Phoenix.
Like I said, we're only 16 laps in. I think it's still going to be a battle of attrition. I think we still have one more big one.
J.W. Miller getting ready to head into the Geico restart zone. Green flag back in the air, and Eric Schaus timed that pretty well. Like he thought about trying to get to the inside of J.W. Miller down this front straightaway, but no dices. Whoa, Charles Teed kind of running Matt Wagner out of room there through 1 and 2. They keep it together, though. Peterson side by
Caution's
side
out.
with Taylor.
Looks like it
It's
may have been Brian
Wright. And add Joe McAdory into that. And I think Luis Gonzalez Nunez may have gotten a piece of this second incident. He's been involved here, back-to-back cautions.
I think he's done.
Tough break there. Joe McAdory, yeah, he's trying to limp that car back onto pit road. Not even sure he's actually being able to steer that thing. I think the car is in control of where he's going rather than the driver. Trying to get it there to pit lane before the leader laps him. Yes, let's go back and see what happened. This was over, it looks like, in 1 and 2.
So it looks like the incidents are actually two different incidents. Looks like Luis Gonzalez Nunez kind of entered the corner a little bit too hot and ended up wrecking the car himself. But the other incident with Wright seems to be on its own.
Here's the Nunez incident.
He just sends it too deep, loses the
Wow!
back end, and pals the wall. I don't know
Absolutely
what he
no
was
grip
thinking.
in those tires.
Yeah, it's kind of rare to see that mistake out of him, but
You alluded to the fact that these cars were flying around this racetrack in practice. Let's not forget that these are the IR01 cars, completely different from what we've seen season after season when we were broadcasting the Dark Horse Racing Series. So a little bit more speed in the car. Obviously, there's got to be a difference in braking zone, maybe even a difference in how well the rear tires grip when you're trying to slow the thing down. And speaking of slowing down, looks like a couple of cars behind Brian Wright were not prepared for his braking point.
the big thing that kind of weirds me out here is I was looking back at last season's stats, and the fastest lap of last season was a 19.573 here in the IR18 car at Phoenix. The fastest lap that we've had today is really a 24.87 by JW Miller. That is, it's just shocking to see the speed. uh, These cars are so much more powerful. They're so much harder to control. They're so much faster. But man, they still turn the slower lap time than the old IR18.
It's kind of interesting, right? Because in all honesty, visibly, they look like they're faster. So the fact that it doesn't translate to faster lap times on the board, it's kind of a little bit of a mystery. It kind of plays with the mind a bit.
I think it's really the difference is, I mean, look at how much higher these things rev. Look at how much more difficult they are to drive in the corner. These cars don't have as many aero bits as the Delara chassis. Where, I mean, we're just looking at this and they're a little bit more rudimentary. At least their design looks a bit more rudimentary, like kind of like a speedway car, but just with less aero bits. But it's surprising that these actually have a bit more downforce than the R18. So it's kind of one of those. Looks can be deceiving.
Cross the lap 20 threshold. Do a little bit of house cleaning here. Right now, 17 drivers on the lead lap. It's like Gary Corley, Joe McAdory are a lap down apiece. 2 laps down, Brandon Gates and Brian Wright. DL Lemon is 3 laps down. Sheridan Wade 4 laps down, but they are all still on the racetrack. As Matt, you alluded to, Luis Gonzalez Nunez is going to finish 24th place here tonight. And that's going to be another big hit in the point standings for driver number 14, who came into tonight's race already mired down 18th in points. He's made 2 starts and has yet to score a top 10. So he'll look to change his luck, maybe get his season turned around in 2 weeks' time when we head into the Pocono Mountains at Pocono Raceway.
And that's all you can hope for is, hey, we've been kind of on this short track swing. We're waiting for that big big speedway swing. So that's going to be what's up next. And I think when we get to a bigger track, we're going to see a lot more out of these cars.
Green flag ready to fly once again. 3rd restart of the night. J.W. Miller. Ooh, we got him stacked up behind him that time. Schaus tried to anticipate, had to get on the brakes, and Charles Teed says, thank you very much. That's going to be the battle for 2nd place through 1 and 2 as Miller begins to scamper away.
Oh, car on the fence! Looks like Schaus. No, it's not Schaus. Looks like Wagner. Wagner got put in the fence
all
and
the way back to
spots.
8th place, it looks like, in the 3 car. Now losing some more spots. He's trapped up on that top side.
Oh, right behind! Looks like McConnell.
Caution's out. So McConnell spun down to the apron, now back up into the turn 1 outside wall. Everybody avoided him, actually, which is really impressive when you've got a car that's coming from the bottom all the way back up the racing surface. And McConnell, if I'm not mistaken, was running in around the 6th or 7th position at the time. Let's go back to turn 1.
And I'm kind of looking at this more, and what it looks like is just kind of like a minor error, where it was hesitation out of McConnell, where obviously we're going down the front straightaway, we're both kind of riding in line, and then suddenly, hey, you've got Wagner who's falling back. And you have to make that split-second decision where is Wagner going to be going in there? Like, is he going to fall back more? And it was just that tiny little indecision by McConnell, but just got the car, the rear end just lost. Ended up spinning it right on around straight into Hysong.
Yeah, it was Jeff Hysong, the Texaco machine down to his inside. We'll get another angle here. You have to wonder what damage did the 18 possibly sustain from this. The contact might have been more wheel to wheel than anything else. Let's see. Almost kind of as if the front tires and rear tires on each respective side made the contact. I don't think that would necessarily lead to suspension damage on the 18, but you can clearly see that the left rear wheel was untethered on McConnell's machine, so he would have to, well, he wasn't able to drive it back. He had to tow it back, and that'll more than likely lose him a lap or two just on the tow alone.
Yeah, and that's definitely kind of a tough end where you do want to try to get it back to pit road at all costs, but I just heard Matt Wagner make a declare over driver's radio that they need to kind of kick back, relax a little bit, and he'll be back up there in a minute.
Looks like McConnell, well, he had a faster pair available, but they're showing right now that he is out of the race. We'll wait and see if maybe he just disconnected and will reconnect. We'll update on that as we progress through, but Lucky Dog should go to Gary Corley. That'll put 17 cars back on the lead lap. Looks like our top 7, from Miller back to Glenn Lazan, they have not made a pit stop the entirety of this race so far. Will Roberts will roll off 8th on this restart. He, of course, came to pit road after he brought out the first caution. He's got about 22 laps on his tires, and then the remainder of the top 10, Hysong and Joseph Morales, they both came to pit road under the second caution of the night, 10 and 12 laps respectively on their current stint. Everybody else, for the most part, has been coming down pit road just about every single caution, maybe taking on some tires, topping off that fuel tank. I mean, Matt Wagner, as you said, kind of telling these drivers, kick back, let's get into a long run. That might be what the second half of the field is planning on with coming to pit road every caution.
I mean, I honestly am kind of in that same boat where I'd be pitting every pit stop. I'd be just topping up with fuel because you never know when that long green flag run is coming. I mean, hey, we may get back-to-back short runs like this, or we get cautions back-to-back, but just like we saw at New Hampshire, I mean, it can be a light switch. Hey, we get caution after caution after caution to, oh, wow, we're on an 80-lap run. I did not expect this. And then, hey, suddenly all those guys behind you, they're a lot better on fuel than you are.
Lights out on the iRacing pace car, getting ready to go back green. Give you a quick rundown of what the point standings look like coming into tonight. J.W. Miller, 2 top 5s to start out the season, including that win back in Michigan. He's the points leader. Eric Schaus, second in points. He's 14 points behind. 25 points back. Last timeouts winner, Will Roberts, in third. Jeff Hysong is fourth, 34 points back. And Charles Teed had a great run a couple of weeks ago at New Hampshire. He jumped up to the 5th position. He is a total of 42 points back. Elmer Joseph, Joseph Morales, Gary Corley, Brad Youngman, and Najee Camargo. That's the top 10 in points coming in.
Oh, big wreck in the back.
Points.
It's all in the back straightaway, but there's cars around.
And the restart is waved off. Jeff Hysong was in the middle of that one, it looks like.
My goodness. Looks like Hysong may have gotten the back of Roberts, and they just kind of stacked up behind him.
Brandon Gates is on pit road, along with Hysong. Let's take a look and see what happened there.
It's almost like Hysong just didn't realize that they were checking up. And he was just kind of riding behind Will, and he just didn't stop. Bopped him in the back, put Will in the fence. He stopped, and then he got driven over by, it looks like, Chris Stouffer.
Stack up, I believe, begins with the 69 of Glenn Lazan. I think Roberts gets into the back of him, and that starts this whole chain reaction. And Phoenix is one of those tracks, as you saw right there. It's got the pit road that almost goes around the entirety of the racetrack, and so it's got a very congested back straightaway with a wall to the outside, a wall to the inside. If an incident takes place, whether it be under caution, like at this point, or under green, there's not a whole lot of available exit routes.
Yeah, and obviously this is kind of an odd feeling sort of drivers where least in my opinion, if I was one of those top 5 guys, I'd be feeling kind of iffy about myself right now because I was amping myself up, getting ready back to go, getting ready to chase down the guy in front of me. And hey, caution just got extended. This is not another caution. We're under the same period. So you're getting ready to launch the line. Flag holder had the green flag in his hand. He was ready to wave it. And there's a problem in the back straightaway. Stop, stop, stop.
Looked like Brandon Gates, Jeff Hysong, and Sheridan Wade all had to take the tow back to pit road, and they are going to fall off the lead lap as a result. Wade and Gates were actually already multiple laps down. We got the caution lights back off, and we're getting ready to go back green once again. Looks like, by my count, 16 drivers on the lead lap here, and J.W. Miller ready to get us back underway here at Phoenix. Eric Schaus, Taylor Jordan back up here in the top 3 now in 3rd, then Teed and Peterson.
Listen, there's a guy who just really fell through the field. I don't know who that was. I think that may have been Joe McAdoo. Man, he did not go on that restart. No, that was Brian Wright.
Also looked like Chris Stouffer made a dive onto pit road late, and so he restarted all the way back in 13th place as we just had an exchange for 2nd. How about Taylor Jordan, now up to the runner-up position, bypassing Eric Schaus. A battle back here for 5th. Eric Peterson trying to hold off Najee Camargo in the 59.
It's been nice to see Camargo kind of get this bounce back when he was involved in that incident with Luis, and he's kind of just shook it off and just kept going forward.
Looking back at Camargo, and then you got the orange and light blue, number 69 of Len Lazan right there. Joseph Morales, another driver who was involved in an early incident. Ooh, a car right there. I think that was a lap machine in between. Oh, we got a car up against the wall there on the back straightaway. Who is that?
That's Eric Schaus.
No caution.
Looks like he accidentally put it in the wall out of 2 on the back straightaway. Made the call just to put it as close to the wall as possible, not bring any other cars with him, and that's a better move.
That was, absolutely, and very fortunate that he did it there on the front, or the back stretch. I'm so used to calling it the front stretch. On the back stretch there, where drivers were then able to move to the inside and get by him safely, as we saw with the onboard there with Eric Peterson. Battle for the lead heating up. It was about 8 car lengths when we took the green. It's now less than a car length and a half. Miller's got a rear deck lid, well, I should say a rear wing, full of Taylor Jordan.
Honestly, Jordan, like you said, he's the great unknown here. I don't know what he's going to do. I don't know if he has something left in the tank or something that's secret, but he's going to kind of propel him past Miller.
Boy, look at that. Ran about a half groove, maybe a full groove higher.
Look at him go.
3 and 4, and 1 and 2, I should say, and now sends it down into 3 and 4. Up the track to the outside wall, and he takes the race lead here at Phoenix.
So if you're J.W. Miller, do you go get it back, or do you kind of just ride behind him, save some fuel?
That's a big question, right? Because also let's consider the fact J.W. Miller, he wants to big picture race. He wants that championship. I know we're very early on in the season, but I think you can plan for the championship as early as race number 1 on the schedule. Miller's had back-to-back top 5, started out the season with a victory at Michigan.
Oh, look at the lap traffic. They're side by side.
Oh gosh, that's Hysong as one of them. I couldn't tell who the other one was.
That was Brian, looks like Brian Wright. He's still kind of putt-putting it around the track, but that's kind of shook it up a little bit. Oh, Hysong almost got I don't think they lost any time out of that.
I don't think they did either. Miller needed that run up there off of 4, and Hysong was there. Could have really been bad for the 2nd place driver. And look at the gap they've put back to 3rd. Here's your 3rd place battle, and it's a good one. You got 3 drivers, throw a blanket over them with Peterson, Teed, and Camargo, but this is taking place over 5 seconds behind the top 2.
Well, you got to remember, when Schaus hit the wall, he was in P3. He basically pulled that entire top 3 on back, and they just pulled them back from the rest of the field. So right now, if we go green, Jordan and Miller are in a league of their own.
Great point. Eric Schaus, by the way, is still running, still on the lead lap, dropped back to the 14th position, but it looks like he is still up to speed. Also appeared that around the time that he had his issue, Gary Corley came to pit road, and he has since put it behind the wall. Brandon Gates and Sheridan Wade have also called it a night, joining Thomas Shannon Meccano and Luis Gonzalez Nunez. So 5 drivers right now back in the garage area, 19 still running, and by last scoring, 15 of them on the lead lap. As we got another good battle back here side by side. Chris Stouffer back on the charge up to 7th. He just got around both Joseph Morales and Matt Wagner in the last 3 laps.
There's about to be a battle here for fourth. Looks like Teed kind of slipped up a little bit in that corner, opened it up for Camargo. And look at Glenn Lazan. He is just pulling his belt tight. He is driving up this field.
Remember, Lazan started this race from the 20th position.
Looks like that was
Coming on the
Brian
apron
Wright.
there.
Oh my goodness, that was Brian Wright almost took out Christopher.
Got to be careful when you're trying to let drivers by here at Phoenix. There's not a whole lot of available areas to be able to go. He's going to try and keep it low. Around the top side there, I believe that's Matt Wagner and Joseph Morales following behind Christopher.
And realistically, that's what this car is kind of done where, hey, unfortunately, if you're off the pace, these cars catch a lot faster. And they like a certain line. They're not used to kind of jumping to different lines. So when this happens, hey, it really can kind of throw you off and throw you off the rhythm it does.
So one thing that we do have to talk about here is things have, at least for the most part, spread out. We might be possibly settling into a long green flag run. I mentioned the fact that the top 7 or 8 on that last restart had not come to pit road the entirety of the race up to that point, which means they're going to have to come to pit road a lot sooner than the second half of the field if we get into a round of green flag pit stops. Going to be interesting to see, based off of whatever fuel numbers these drivers have, whose strategy that plays out the benefit to. Is it the drivers that haven't pit yet, or is it the drivers that have already been to pit road?
Are we sure the 802 isn't Jordan Taylor? I'm just seeing fast lap after fast lap after fast lap. Like, my goodness.
He's having to deal with some traffic there. That was Brian Wright that he just went around. Now going to go around, I believe that is the 93 of Brandon Youngman, who was the last car on the lead lap. No, correction, that was not. That was Elmer Joseph. Youngman's actually on pit road. We just saw him there in the 93. He and Elmer Joseph were the last 2 cars on the lead lap and now have both fallen a lap down. Next on the hit list for the race leader, that's Eric Schaus.
And I'm still seeing this battle go on for fourth. Charles Teed's holding them off, but Camargo is on the move.
At Wagner and Will Roberts side by side here.
Oh!
1 and 2. Whoa!
Teed's around. Camargo got in the back of him.
Caution out, as you see back there against the Instacart logo in the turn 2 area is the 5 of Charles Teed.
You know, 2 guys who are just kind of banging their head against the wall. Has to be Jordan Miller. They had almost a 10-second lead.
Absolutely, but at the same time, though, this gives them the opportunity to maybe come down pit road under caution rather than under green if the strategy, if we'd gone green to the end, was not going to work out in their favor. Might have given them an opportunity to be able to kind of adjust that strategy. They will maybe lose some track position. I would think maybe we have some drivers stay out, though. I'm looking, and the drivers on the lead lap, the drivers that have turned the less amount of laps would be Stouffer and Will Roberts, and they've turned 21 circuits. So maybe they still come to pit road.
I'm just kind of looking back here. And I think really Camargo just got a little bit eager. Was thinking he could send it in because I've been seeing Teed kind of wash up the track a little bit these past few laps. I think Teed actually got the stick on the bottom of the track this time, and Camargo was just not ready for it.
Is it a case of maybe the 5 getting a little tight through the center? Because that's where the contact took place.
It definitely could have been.
Let's take another angle here and see. Yeah, it almost looks like with the closing rate there, like maybe Teed had to feather the throttle just a little bit there. The center of the corner, and Camargo was not ready for it. The tough break there for Charles Teed, as we've already seen for a couple of cars here tonight. When you get up there into the wall and that left rear tire becomes untethered, you really cannot get the car refired and turned back around and manually bring that car back to pit road. You then have to call that tow, and with how short this racetrack is, more than likely you're gonna lose a lap, and it takes you, at least for the moment, out of the running of, if not a good finish, a win here tonight at Phoenix International. And am I seeing this right? Is Teed done?
Looks like Teed is done. Looks like he's parked it.
He had a faster pair as well. That's the second driver that's brought it to pit road with a faster pair available and has instead called it an evening. McConnell was the other one, so
I think he was
That's a
just a
little
bit
surprising.
frustrated where,
Could
I
be.
mean, realistically, he was not making it back to pit road with that damage
We've
because
had a couple of
he was stuck
drivers,
there, so he
had a
had to
couple of
tow.
had a couple of drivers up there in the top 5, top 10 in points that have had some issues here tonight. Charles Teed, the latest of them, was 5th in the point standings. Gary Corley's out of the race. He was in a tie for 8th coming into tonight. Saw Will Roberts spin around there in the early going. He was 3rd in points, but he's since been able to mount a bit of a comeback. And Eric Schaus, who had that problem there at the beginning of this most previous restart, 2nd in the point standings. So it's very early on in the season. We could see a lot of green and red with drivers advancing and losing positions in the point standings here, heading into the off week and then in preparation for Pocono.
And realistically, we just got to look at this here where it's anything can happen. We don't know what's really going to end up happening here later and off in the weeks because we've got Pocono coming up. Obviously, the Pocono is going to be an interesting track to say the least. But then we dabble a little bit further where we go in the Road America. We I don't believe we had any road courses on the schedule last season.
No, we did
At least
not.
none I
It was
can
all
remember.
speedways. It
Yeah,
was
so
all
we're
speedways. I think the last time that we ran Road America, if I recall correctly, was back in the season prior to last season.
And you got to think going into Road America, these drivers will have choice of different compounds of tires, both soft, medium, and hard tires that have different amounts of longevity and speed. And realistically, I drove a few laps around Road America. It is insane. This car has so much grip there.
Oh, we're going to have a very interesting restart here because if you look back, 4th car in line, that is
Huh.
your second place driver, Jordan. I made the mistake. There it is, Taylor Jordan. You've got Matt Wagner, who's leading this group, and then 2 lap cars behind him, in between him and Taylor Jordan. Then J.W. Miller, Eric Peterson, and Chris Stowe for the top 5. So this will be a very interesting restart as we're back underway.
And it looks like basically those 2 cars that may have been trying to take a wave around and just ended up getting blocked out by Wagner staying out. Wagner's in the fence!
Oh! Up and into the wall. Hard hit. Still pointed the right direction. No caution. Right front wheel is tethered off of it, and now the caution's out as he nearly took out the 13 of Elmer Joseph. And then look out on pit road. That is Joe McAdory taking evasive action.
Realistically, he did the exact same thing that Luis Gonzalez Nunez did. He drove down in the first corner just like he always did and just lost the back end.
We have to remember, though, everybody else had come to pit road. On that restart, Matt Wagner was on 26-lap-old tires, so a huge unknown of just how much grip he was going to have going into that corner, and I think he found out pretty quick.
My, my. And they just keep dropping like flies, and seeing someone like Matt Wagner kind of drop it kind of puts it in perspective.
Big drift into the outside wall, and then right there, man, I don't know how Elmer Joseph did not hit him. And then right there again, Joe McAdory coming on to pit road. A couple of drivers very near misses there. As a matter of fact, see just how close it was. Let's take an onboard with the 13 of Elmer Joseph, who, kind of wish we had, how they have those heart monitor things? I wish we had a heart monitor on 13 car and have seen how much it spiked.
But I'd say it's all fun and games till you enter the corner the same way you've been entering the corner multiple times and just you don't have the grip and you just start seeing everything slide. It's well, we're along for the ride at this point.
We are into 1 and 2. You're going to see up against the wall. There he is. There's Matt Wagner coming down, and whew, there wasn't a whole heck of a lot of space on the left there to not hit that inside wall either.
Yeah, and I think Wagner was really just trying his best to get the pit road because I don't really think he wanted that to be a caution. He was just trying to get out of everyone's way, and unfortunately, it was either he stayed up near the wall longer, risked bringing out a caution, or exactly that happens where he tried to come down and unfortunately almost tagged multiple people.
Yep, I agree with you. I think that was what he was trying to do, trying to keep it rolling so that way the caution didn't come out, and was trying to get it to pit road, keep us under green. Now, interesting here, I'm guessing that scoring had Taylor Jordan ahead of DJ or DL Lemon, because Lemon looked like he was trying to position himself to take a wave around. But now the 802 moves around him, putting him back to what would be 3 laps down. So looks like another lap machine will be in the works here between the lead lap cars. This time it will be between Taylor Jordan and J.W. Miller. Chris Stouffer up in third, Eric Peterson in fourth, and Glenn Lazan right there in that fifth position. Morales in sixth, Jim Brooks up there in seventh. This caution, I think, is going to help Eric Schaus out a lot because he was all the way back in 13th, 14th after that loss of momentum. He's going to restart in 8th. Najee Camargo and Will Roberts. That is going to be the top 10. I believe that Elmer Joseph, I'm not 100% certain, but I believe Elmer Joseph might have been the recipient of the lucky dog under this most recent yellow. So 13 of the 18 drivers still running will be on the lead lap when we get back green.
I'm just looking at this. I mean, we're on lap 58 right now. I mean, you got to think there's still a long way to go in this race.
Definitely a long way to go. Take a look at our weather forecast here tonight at Phoenix. Track temperature just around the same as the ambient temperature, about a couple of degrees difference. Partly cloudy there, and what's kind of funny about that is you look at track temperature, 76 degrees, nighttime conditions, you're thinking, there's a lot of grip for these drivers to work with. And then you go back and look at Luis Gonzalez Nunez and most recently Matt Wagner going into the corner, and it's like, nope, there's not the grip that you think there is.
Well, we're going to be getting ready to go back green, and that lap car, I think, is going to make all the difference here.
It looked like DL Lemon was up to speed when we went back green, so we'll see if he's going to be as much of a hindrance this restart as we get back underway. And yeah, looks like he is still up to speed here, but you have to think J.W. Miller going to want to put him in the rearview mirror as quickly as possible, because after Taylor Jordan got around Miller for the race lead, he was able to gap him quite quickly.
I noticed the problem with Will Roberts there. I'm not exactly sure what happened, but he went a little bit slow. Doesn't look like he has any damage on the car, but definitely falling back.
Well, Will Roberts, let's not forget, is one of several drivers still running that has already used the faster pair.
Stouffer in the fence.
No caution, keeps it rolling. A lot of damage there on that right side, though. That looks like that right front took a big hit. Oh, yeah, look at the right front tire. It's facing, it's about 15 degrees the wrong way.
And he still has to kind of limp it around. Oh, yeah.
Keeping it down there on the apron. Remember, we called that out of bounds, but if you're having a problem like this, that's a smart move. Get down there out of harm's way. So if we're going to bring it to pit road. Looked like Joe McAdory also dove on pit road.
Elmer Joseph is in the fence. He's in two.
Oh, yeah. And caution will fly.
There's leaders. My. They just keep dropping like flies.
They do indeed. Boy, and it just kind of seems like if you hit the wall, the angles that they're hitting it, it's kind of a death knell. There's no way you're going to be able to refire that thing and drive it back around.
So this one may have come for a little bit of a controversial reason. I'm not exactly sure what happened here.
If we can find out. Elmer Joseph, who I believe had just recently gotten a free pass to get back in the lead lap.
So he's going down the front straightaway. He's chasing Brian Wright. And Brian just, I don't know if he tried to lift for the quarter to let him by and just kind of ran into him. The oddest thing.
Looked like Elmer Joseph kind of realized that he was going to be faster in the corner. He was going to go around the outside. I don't know if he just misjudged it or what.
Either way, weird.
Let's go on board with the 13, see if we can kind of dissect what all happened there on the back stretch, or the front stretch rather, going into turn 1. I think that's just a case of, we've seen it quite a bit here tonight, of not knowing where the lift point is of the driver in front of you, and just no available reaction time. It's a big hit there for Elmer Joseph, and caution coming out with that car slowing, and there you see there's the leaders flying on by on the left side of your screen. Elmer Joseph having to call in the tow. Not certain if he had already used his faster pair or not, but slowly starting to lose count of all the drivers that have used their faster pair. It might be easier to just go down the list of those that haven't used the faster pair, because I think as I eyeball it here, I see only 8 drivers that still have a faster pair intact. And 5 of those 8 are the drivers running currently up inside of our top 5.
It definitely makes it tough. Where I'm really wondering about some of these drivers up in front if they're kind of losing their rhythm here a little bit. I mean, there's some drivers who definitely have capitalized on this situation. I mean, look at Glenn Lazon. He is up 16 positions. He is in P4. That is someone I did not expect to see up here today. Same thing with Joseph Morales. He is just kind of excelled with all of these wrecks, and he has been up to P5.
One driver we have not mentioned at all tonight, who also falls into the category of still having his faster pair intact, is going to restart from the 27th, or the 27th. He's the 27th. He's restarting from the 7th position, and that is Craig Forsyth, who rolled off the grid from 12th place. Now remember, a couple of weeks ago, Craig Forsyth was not in the field at New Hampshire. Subsequently, he ended up dropping 10 spots in the standings to 13th. Quiet night here for him, and big opportunity with a lot of drivers we've already talked about up inside the top 10 in points running into issues. We got a couple of them back in the garage area. Big opportunity to gain those points and those positions possibly back here this evening.
I don't know. I know better than the count out Craig Forsyth. He just kind of reappears when you don't expect him.
Green flag, gonna come back out this next time by. Closing in on the halfway point, about 9 laps away from it. Taylor Jordan, the race leader. J.W. Miller in second. That lap car is still there. Miller was not able to pass E.L. Lemon to put him in the rearview mirror, so you've still got the 08 playing a little bit of spoiler there. Second car in line. Eric Peterson third. Glenn Lazon fourth. And Joseph Morales right now going to complete your top 5. The lucky dog under that caution, I believe, might have gone to Matt Wagner. So 11 drivers on the lead lap. We've got 17 running right now. 18 still scored in the race as Chris Stouffer still sits on pit road getting damage repair done to his number 15.
I'm just looking, Matt Wagner's still in this race. Even with that contact earlier, he is still fighting tough.
Through 3 and 4. Green flag back in the air. Decent restart there for J.W. Miller. Let's see what he's able to do with Lemon. Oh, no, Lemon almost looks like he wants to get one of his laps back the hard way. Gonna race it out tooth and nail with the 802 of Taylor Jordan.
You got to think, if we're going to have this many restarts, might as well try. See if you can get you one.
Not going to be able to do it that time, though. A 2-car length separation, then another 2 car lengths back. J.W. Miller. Spell on the track right now is going inside of the latter portion of the top 10. Matt Wagner trying to fight his way up through. He just got around Jim Brooks up ahead. Good battle, Eric Schaus. Greg Forsyth, Will Roberts, and they're right behind Joseph Morales. This is some tight quarter racing in the latter half of the top 10. Oh, Will Roberts around.
Yeah, but he's in the inside wall. No caution, though.
No caution. He's going to get the thing going again. That thing just snapped around. Kind of shades of what happened to him back in the very early laps of this race.
Yeah, it's like as soon as you even think about touching that yellow line, or even if you're just barely enough close to it, it just loses that rear end grip.
No caution there for our last time out's winner at New Hampshire. Will Roberts, I don't know if he made, it was hard to tell with that camera shot if he made any contact with the wall, but it looks like he may be coming to pit road here. You see him down on the apron, and yeah, he's heading for pit lane in that 31 car. He will definitely fall at least 1 lap down, maybe multiple, with it being green flag laps here at Phoenix. Not taking them long at all, 20 some odd seconds to complete a lap here.
But you got to think, I mean, that's a huge blow, and especially if an even bigger blow if a caution does come out. But as we're looking here, I mean, it is a look at Forsyth and Schaus going at it for P6.
Inverted numbers, the 72, the 27.
He got a little loose.
Najee Camargo right behind that as well. If a driver makes a mistake, too, not a whole lot of room for error for drivers like Camargo, Wagner, Jim Brooks behind. If someone loses momentum ahead of them, they could find their front wing right back in their gearbox.
That's the thing, there's so little reaction time when something goes wrong. You kind of have to, it can't be a, do I go high, do I go low? I mean, you have to choose a decision right then and there, or you're driving straight in the back of them.
So things have gotten settled out here. Now kind of spaced out from 5th back to around the 10th position. 11 drivers now on the lead lap after the unscheduled pit stop by Will Roberts. He has fallen 2 laps down. We've got only one driver right now, 1 lap down, that being Jeff Hysong, who would be in position for the lucky dog if we were to get a yellow, but looks like, where would we go? About 9 laps into this run, and we're already encountering traffic again for the race leader. First on the hit list is going to be Brian Wright, and then the 31 of Will Roberts.
I see Joseph Morales is currently on his way falling back. Looks like he's under attack now from Forsyth, but as you mentioned, lap cars, they definitely kind of bring a new element into this race.
Oh man, I'll tell you what, that was close. Brian Wright almost got up into the left side of the lap machine of DL Lemon as they were traversing their way through 1 and 2. J.W. Miller was able to swing around the outside of the wounded 79, but boy, it's going to be really tough for these guys to be able to maneuver their way through this traffic. Got to be a lot of communication between the lead lap cars and lap cars. If this is the lane I want to run, please adhere to that. Please give me that lane.
I mean, the biggest thing you can do is a lap car, and the same thing you can do as a lead lap car. As a lead lap car, it's pretty much it's your responsibility to get past that car in front of you safely. So if you wreck into him, hey, that's your own doing. As long as he's being predictable, and that's the biggest thing. Where yes, you as a lap car, it is their job to pass you, but it's also your job to be predictable as they're passing. So don't jump in the bottom line and then suddenly change your mind, jump all the way up top when they're up the top. Caution.
Will Roberts again.
Hey.
My question is, was it over in turn 1 maybe?
Yep.
Really been struggling with that apron there, that dog leg. Going into turn 1. May have been bitten a 3rd time.
Yeah, he just entered the corner and just lost the back end and just backed into the fence.
Same identical spot. Here it is again. Nobody in the vicinity, really. Fortunate by that. Though remember, the race leader was not that far behind. Ow.
Well, I said it's a battle of attrition.
And it's amazing, right, when you consider the fact that 2 weeks ago we were at another racetrack with low banking with these cars at New Hampshire, and Will Roberts was the one that went to victory lane. Now, granted, Phoenix is a little bit longer of a racetrack. I think it's a little over a mile. New Hampshire is a mile in length, but amazing to kind of see how a driver, the huge difference between their ability to tackle one racetrack 1 week and then another racetrack a couple of weeks later that has somewhat similar banking in the corners.
And that's going to be the bigger challenge of Pocono is just there's 3 different corners to that racetrack and 3 very distinct ways that you all enter those corners. I think turn 1 will definitely be the driver's favorite corner. Turn 2 will be a little bit less favorable. Turn 3 is definitely not going to be anyone's friend.
Jeff Hysong, saw him going around, getting his lap back as the free pass. So we'll have 11 drivers on the lead lap. And we got a bunch of drivers diving onto pit road. Now I want to take an onboard here with our race leader, Taylor Jordan. You and I were discussing about some of the facets of this IR01 car, and I had actually not realized that these cars had the aero screens under the lights here. The nighttime conditions a lot more stand outish, if you will. But if you'll notice on the left and right sides of this aero screen, just around where the tires are, you've got this virtual mirror. And you were talking about this. This is a big help to the drivers, not having to kind of rely on the in-race spotters of if they've got somebody alongside them or making a move.
We got to think the in-race spotters have been same thing for your actual mirrors. Back in the IR18 car, or the Delara 18 car, we had mirrors and they were all the way out the left and right sides, and that made it hard where you actually had to map a turn, or if you didn't have 3 monitors, you kind of had to turn or hit the look left and look right buttons to make sure you're clear of a guy if you wanted to check your mirrors. This way, it moves the mirrors a lot closer to your line of sight, so you can also adjust the camera view in that mirror if you want to look a little bit farther out right. So if you want a better angle, you can do that, and it doesn't really sacrifice any of the viewing angle that you have.
Also, look at this dash we've got here on the steering wheel. It gives you, your lap time. But I think the cool feature that they have on here, you see that the screen is yellow, indicating we are under caution. It turns green when we go green. Just another way of letting the driver know what the race condition is at the time, just in case they don't see the flag stand or the lights here on the outside of the racetrack.
You never want to see that thing turn red. Turn red means something broke.
Uh, okay, well, a little confusing here. We're still under caution and the screen turned green, so I'm not sure. Is that a technical glitch? What just happened in that?
That may be the call for one to green, just saying, hey,
Ah,
get
okay.
ready to go back green.
It's a good thing I'm not in one of those cars, because I would have flown by the pace car by now. My thing says green. We're going.
If it goes green and you're in 22nd, you're held liable for all the cars you just drove through.
Well, green flag will be coming out here once again, getting ready for our 8th restart of the night. A little bit of a facelift here for the front of the field. Taylor Jordan and Najee Camargo stayed out under this yellow. J.W. Miller, who was the first onto pit lane, will restart in 3rd. Eric Peterson and Eric Schaus, the pole sitter, they're the top 5. Glenn Lazan, Craig Forsyth, Matt Wagner, Jim Brooks, and Jeff Heisung, who just got back in the lead lap. That's the top 10. Joseph Morales is the last car on the lead lap in the 11th spot as we are back underway, and Camargo does not want to wait.
You know, we have yet to see kind of how much tires really matter, but here I think is we're really going to see if those tires are going to mean a lot more to Miller than it does Jordan.
Miller flew around Camargo there through 1 and 2. Let's see what kind of pressure he can put on Taylor Jordan for the race lead. Eric Peterson back there a little wide through 3 and 4 in his attempts to close up on Camargo, and that's got Eric Schaus all over the back of him in a battle for 4th.
Just seeing the whole hornet's nest that Forsyth is currently in. He's being tracked down by Matt Wagner. Jim Brooks is still hanging around. He's trying to get him. Then you got all the cars in front of him. It is a train.
Currently have 17 cars out on the racetrack. Will Roberts still scored in the event, but back in 17th, currently 10 laps down and trying to get repairs done specifically to the right rear that took the pounding up into the outside wall off of turn 1 when he had that spin for our most recent caution. As of right now, no driver that is a lap down, if they were to get the lucky dog, would be back on the lead lap. Our highest running lap car would be Brad Youngman, who is 2 laps down to the leaders right now in 12th place.
And you got to think the biggest thing here is kind of looking at this is, are we going to go green to the end here? That is my big question.
Yeah, and that's the thing that I was kind of wondering about as this race progressed. The more drivers that we have out of the race, the less amount of cars we're going to have on the racetrack.
Brian Wright! My goodness, he ended up stacking up Peterson. That lost him a ton of time.
And Eric Schaus tried to take advantage of that, unable to. But yeah, as the track starts to get a little bit more spacious with more drivers out of the race or damaged and off the pace.
Forsyth, no! Wright got into... Oh, what a cluster.
Glenn Lazan was in that, as was the 15 of Christopher. Caution out for the 9th time tonight. Lazan was having such a good run. He was one of the drivers that still had a faster pair available. Let's take a look and see what happened here. And
I mean, I won't mince words. It was bound to happen eventually, with just how all the interactions of other lead lap cars were. It was a matter of time, and unfortunately, it finally happened.
And the speed differential too, right? Like between the 79 of Brian Wright and all those drivers up inside of the top 10. We've talked about the inability with the speeds they're carrying to make those on-a-dime decisions, those on-a-dime moves, and that's a culmination right there. Contact between Forsyth into Wright, up into Glenn Lazan, and then it's just on from there.
Wright's top speed there was 177. Lazan hit him at 190. Like, I think that tells the story.
Well, Brian Wright, 7 laps down. I'll pose the question. Should the 79 have been out there, mixing it up with drivers up inside of the top 5 with how slow his speed was in comparison, especially being up on the racing surface there? I mean, you've got, it's illegal to advance your position down there on the apron, but I mean, could there be an audible if you're off the pace and you've got drivers that are catching up to you that you know are battling on the lead lap for position to go down there and let them on by?
Realistically, what got my frustration was his interaction with Eric Peterson in 1. because I was listening to driver's comms. I didn't hear anything said about where he wanted to go. He was in the middle of the track. Eric Peterson kind of entered on the bottom line. He was on the bottom line. He started going high, and he met him up high, and then he said, "Hey, go low." So Eric Peterson went low, and then the next car behind, who was at the time Eric Schaus, he went to enter low. Or actually, no, it wasn't Eric Schaus. My apologies. It was Glenn Lazan. Glenn Lazan went to enter low, expecting him to be low, or expecting him to pass, or sorry, expecting to pass low, and he was there. Bright was running low.
9 cautions tonight for 35 of the 92 laps run.
Man, look at that average speed, though.
Yeah, that's what happens when you're going into the corner at 203 miles per hour on these restarts, though.
It's just so insane, and realistically, still looking at the best lap, we are still about a half a second, or pretty much half a second off of the fastest lap from last season. So that's it. We're getting closer, and I'm wondering if we go on a longer run, how it's going to be for some of these guys.
We've had 4 lead changes. I believe it's been amongst 3 drivers. Eric Schaus led the early portion of the race after starting on the pole. J.W. Miller was out in front for a handful of laps, and then Taylor Jordan. I'm going to make that mistake a lot, I think. That's number 2. Someone get a counter of how many times I call this guy Jordan Taylor. Taylor Jordan then has led pretty much since he took the lead from J.W. Miller, and he's looking to see if he can lead the final 60 some odd laps here tonight and make it 3 for 3 in a driver getting their first win here in the F.A.R.T NDCar series under the Dark Horse Racing Series banner.
Still a great name.
You saw it earlier on tonight when we began the pre-race festivities. This is the Holy Crap Phoenix 150, and to be honest, if we listen to some driver comms of them sending it into the corner and finding no grip, I think you'd hear a holy crap or two in there.
I could think of some better words, but
I don't think we can say them over broadcast, though.
Oh, not at all. Not at all.
That is why we can't have a radioactive. Unless we have a censor bar, then we're good.
I've done that before. Like, half the video was censors. It was not. It was not a pleasant experience.
Oh, getting ready to go back green here. It's going to be a total of 57 laps to go. No lap car this time for J.W. Miller to have to contend with, so let's see what he can do with Taylor Jordan.
And just looking here, I don't think that J.W. Miller gets that great of a restart to really pounce and take advantage of Taylor Jordan. With him being able to control that restart, it just changes the whole complexion.
That's the big thing, right? When you're the race leader, you get the opportunity to choose where the acceleration point is from that Geico restart zone all the way to the start-finish line, and you can just catch that second-place car flat-footed and be able to open up the gap that he already has, about 3-4 car lengths already. Good battle here. Matt Wagner just behind Eric Schaus. We've also got the lap car of DL Lemon still in that mix. I'll tell you what, DL Lemon right now is currently scored 3 laps down, but I think if he were to get enough cautions to be able to get enough lucky dogs to get back in the lead lap, he's been running up here with the top 5 drivers. I think he'd have a shot at a top 10, if not a top 5, but unfortunately the early issues at the beginning of this race have put him kind of out of the conversation.
I mean, both him and Glenn Lazan is really just stories of, hey, guys who should be running up here right now and just don't have that opportunity, and it sucks. But, I mean, hey, with cautions, there's still a chance it could fall your way. You just got to kind of bide your time.
The garage area has been filling up during the course of the night. More drivers just had their vehicles wheeled in under the last yellow flag period. Chris Stouffer is going to get credited for 18th, and Brian Wright will be credited more than likely for 16th, unless Will Roberts can get out there and complete about 8 or 9 circuits to pick up that position. So either 16th or 17th is where Brian Wright is going to finish this evening.
Will is still in the garage. I mean, he has not called it quits just yet. I think he's trying to repair that little bit of car and just hoping that when he finally gets back out, he has a chance.
Riding on board here with Matt Wagner, looking ahead to Eric Schaus, looking ahead of him to Eric Peterson. So now a 3-man fight for the final spot on the podium.
And you got to think, I mean, Schaus was fast early in the race. He was holding that P3 spot, but got a little bit of the wall out of 2 and sent him all the way back. So he's trying just to reclaim what he lost.
Did you see it right there? And let's see if we see it again. Not as much there through 3 and 4, but over into turn 1. That 36 was all sorts of sideways. So that back end was fishtailing a bit.
I will say easily that, I would any day look at Matt Wagner. Oh my goodness. He was sending it in there. I thought he had it on Peterson. But you got to think, I would rather play offense and defense any day. I'd hate to be in Peterson's position there where I had to try and defend from Eric Schaus, where I know he can go 15 different ways, and all I can do is try and defend my preferred line.
Want to talk about a comeback? How about Jeff Heisong? Got the lucky dog under the last caution, and he is up to the 6th position. Last year, we kind of dubbed him Mr. Consistency. Thought we were going to see a lot out of him again this season, and we have 2 races, 2 top 5s. He's 4th in overall points, and right now he's en route to at least another top 10, maybe another top 5, but he's got about 7, 8 car lengths to make up on Matt Wagner, and he's got the lap car of DL Lemon in between them.
Yeah, just look, car in the wall. Looks like a Schaus.
Again.
I said his racing line, he pushed it extremely aggressively. It looks like, the car just stepped out in the corner, and looks like, yeah, that's caution.
Brings it to a stop. Yellow flag gonna fly.
It was so weird. He got out to a little bit of a gap. He just started pushing, and he did that same thing where the back end lost grip, and it just backed into the wall.
10th caution of the night. Second time that Eric Schaus has had a problem when running up inside of the top 5 this evening. Our pole sitter is running all by his lonesome. There you see a long gap up to J.W. Miller, a gap back there to Eric Peterson, and very similar again to what we've seen a number of drivers have issues with, but this time, as opposed to over in turn 1 where we saw both Matt Wagner and Luis Gonzalez Nunez have issues, that time it was going into turn 3, which is the area of the racetrack that has the higher banking, more banking for that right rear tire to lean into.
Yeah, it's so weird, like just seeing some of these cars jump off, but it looks like Taylor Jordan, he's going to be coming down for some fresh tires and fuel, and everyone else, it looks like, is staying out with the exception of Jim Brooks and Craig Forsyth.
Morales, Brooks, Forsyth, looks like Eric Schaus on pit road, obviously due to the tow. Ooh, this is going to be interesting. Glenn Lazan, Brad Younkman is going to get the lucky dog here under this caution. They've got him scored. I think Younkman, is he going to... Looks like he's taking the lucky dog right now. So he is actually going to be back on the lead lap in the 9th position. So that will give us 10 drivers back on the lead lap when we get ready to go back green. And Taylor Jordan, let's remember, Taylor Jordan did have an issue in the early going. He spun around. However, at the timing of the yellow, I believe he was scored in 4th or 5th. He was able to keep that position under pacing. He has not started or restarted this race outside of the top 5. This is the furthest back that he's going to restart in 9th place. So it's going to be a lot more traffic that he's going to have to deal with than he's had to in the first 100 laps here tonight.
And it kind of puts in perspective where, hey, he's had that clean air, he's had that preferred start. He's been able to go whatever he wants to. Now he's going to have to slowly work his way through. I don't know. New Hampshire would have called it kind of a death sentence, but here I don't know.
Eric Schaus is still on pit road, 3 laps down. He'll look to bounce back next week. Had a strong run going here tonight. Had the early issue, bounced back, got back up in the top 5, and then our most recent caution. The track we're going to in 2 weeks at Pocono is a track that he has formerly won at in the Dark Horse Racing Series. So certainly you got to think he'll be looking forward to getting back to the Tricky Triangle in a couple weeks' time after we have the off week next week for Labor Day weekend. As iRacing Pace Car says, yes, 1 lap to green, less than 50 laps to go here tonight. By last count, 15 drivers on the racetrack, 10 of them currently on the lead lap. It's Miller the leader, Peterson second, Matt Wagner third, then Heisong and Camargo the top 5. Those drivers did not pit. Joseph Morales is going to restart in 6th, Jim Brooks 7th, Craig Forsyth in 8th, Taylor Jordan, there's 3, Taylor Jordan in 9th, and Brad Yelkman is going to complete the top 10. Those drivers on the lead lap as we get ready to go back under green flag racing. I think the big question is going to be for J.W. Miller. Are 4, 5, 6 cars going to be enough for him to hold off Taylor Jordan? Because we've seemed to be able to keep in touch with the 802, but the gap does increase. So if he can build enough of a gap right now, then maybe that's what he's going to need to keep Jordan from victory lane.
Well, the big thing I think he's really wishing for here is no cautions. I think they can make it to the end on fuel with what they have, and I don't think tires is that much of a factor. I'm not exactly sure. But what really matters most is just trying to build up a gap and obviously hoping that gap doesn't get demolished by a caution.
Tough break. Eric Schaus looks like they were trying to get that car repaired back out there and log some laps, gain some points. But he's going to finish 15th place here tonight, is our pole sitter. As J.W. Miller, the driver whose pole sitting streak was snapped tonight at 2, out in front. Pretty good gap between himself and Eric Peterson. But let's go back here. As, my goodness, a lot of hard racing there as Taylor Jordan trying to cut his way through the field. He puts Jim Brooks back in the rearview mirror. He passed Craig Forsyth the lap before. Next is going to be Joseph Morales as he's trying to quickly but methodically work his way back up to the front.
I just keep looking here and I see Taylor. He's had to adjust his line here in the last few laps. I saw him with Jim Brooks. He was a little bit hesitant. He wanted to open up his line a little bit more. And it looks like he's not used to racing back into some of his traffic, but some of his traffic's not used to racing with a fast driver, at least at the moment. Where, hey, it's been everyone who's been kind of iffy and trying to save their stuff getting around. Jordan is going.
He is going. However, right now, being back in traffic is hindering his lap times. Last time around, 20.7 for Taylor, and then JW with 20.4s out in clean air. So this could be exactly what JW Miller needs to be able to keep that fast 802 at bay. But to your point, he needs this to go green the rest of the way. If a caution comes out, that's a good chunk of cars that Taylor Jordan has already bypassed, and he'll probably get more on an upcoming close together restart.
I'm looking at Matt Wagner here, and I really see him trying to figure out what to do to Eric Peterson here. Because Peterson, it's one of those things where I tell you, I would hate to defend against Matt Wagner, just knowing what he can do. But same thing is, I'd hate to try and pass Eric Peterson because I know he's fast, I know he's skilled, I know he knows how to keep me behind. But obviously, what happens when a movable object meets an unstoppable force?
A caution?
Hopefully
That's the best I got.
Hopefully not.
That's the answer I got. Najee Camargo just got bypassed for the 5th position, but good run tonight for Najee, up inside the top 10 in overall standings, and he's kept his nose relatively clean, got involved in an earlier incident, but since then he's been up there inside of the top 10, up inside the top 5 a couple of times, and having another solid outing. Jeff Heisong about to be under fire from Jordan. That's for 4th place. But right now, by last count, 4 seconds between Miller back to Jordan, who's still got 4 more cars he's got to pass before he can start to concentrate on maybe getting back up to the race lead as we close in on 30 laps to go here in Phoenix.
Just looking around, Taylor's he's slowly getting there, but I'm looking for Eric Peterson and Matt Wagner, and it looks like they've kind of just given up fighting and more or less, hey, let's see if we can kind of run away here. Let's make the battle between us.
That was interesting right there. Heisong finally going to have to give up the spot for about a lap and a half. He was running as low as he could down to that yellow line, basically saying to Taylor Jordan's fresh tires, if you're going to pass me, you got to do it the longer way around the racetrack. So we'll see if other drivers up ahead adopt that same strategy. Next driver he's got to deal with, that is the lap car of DL Lemon, who we've commented. He has been up to speed just about as fast as drivers up here inside of the top 5. So he's not necessarily going to be an easy one for Taylor to be able to get around.
You know, I'm kind of looking at Heisong, and I understand what Heisong was doing, where Heisong sees Camargo in his mirror. He knows that Taylor's going to get around him eventually. Like, no matter how much he tries, Taylor's going to end up getting around. So instead of wasting my time and energy trying to burn off my stuff to keep Jordan behind me, let me let Jordan go. Let me try to focus on my own race so I don't have to fight Carmago, hopefully.
Very smart. Pick your battles because right now, Jeff Heisong has 10 lap older tires than Najee Camargo. So yeah, make sure that you don't battle the driver that you know is absolutely going to blow your doors off. Pick your battles in the field, figure out who you're faster than, who you want to finish ahead of, and race accordingly. Speaking of pick your battles, well, Matt Wagner picked a battle with Eric Peterson, and it was over just as quickly as it started. He blew by Eric Peterson, picking up the second position, and now he's trying to go to work on reeling in J.W. Miller, and I'll tell you what, if lap times are any indication, he is closing in a hurry. That last time by, he took out a 0.2 of a second chunk out of the 2-second lead that Miller had accumulated.
And that's the thing that's scary, where he's running faster laps than Taylor Jordan. Or sorry, Taylor Jordan ended up running a faster lap that last time. Jordan just outran him that time, but Jordan had draft and new tires, and Wagner outran him with old tires and no draft.
Still plenty of opportunity here, plenty of laps for Matt Wagner to try and close up the gap between himself and J.W. Miller. It almost kind of looks like Miller is better in 3 and 4. Wagner is better over in 1 and 2. It's kind of the intervals keep slinking down to 2 seconds and then back up to 2.5 seconds. Let's see what the interval is this time. 2.2 seconds between the two of them as we cross the line for 25 laps to go. And still 4 seconds back is where you find Taylor Jordan, who's about to reel in Eric Peterson for that final spot in the podium.
And just looking at it, I think that Jordan may have ran the fastest lap on the racetrack, so he is on his way.
You are right. 20.106 for Taylor Jordan. The next closest to that is in the 2s, a 2.53 for Matt Wagner, which actually was run just about 5 laps ago.
And you got to think, I mean, I've been watching these last few laps, and they've been running so much identical lap times. I mean, Miller just ran a 30 or a 3:10. Wagner ran a 3:73, and Taylor ran a 3:62. I mean, they're all within the same point.
You know, McAdory going to yield the inside to the race leader, J.W. Miller. And, you know, another big question, too, is we talked about the track position that Taylor Jordan has lost. He's having to use up a lot of tire getting around these cars also. Some of them he's having to pass around the longer way around the racetrack on the outside line. So, yeah, his lap times right now are faster than the top two. If he gets to Miller, what is he going to have left in the tank in terms of speed, in terms of grip, to be able to get by him?
That is the big question here, man. He took the risk. He put new tires on it. He put a little bit of fuel in it. But I don't know what he's really going to have left when he gets up there, unless really Miller has been running his stuff off, trying to keep up those intervals, and they're going to end up falling off, and he's hoping that Miller falls off earlier.
Here's your brewing battle for third. Eric Peterson, about 2.5, 3 car lengths back to Taylor Jordan for the third place position. This is taking place about 2.5 seconds behind Matt Wagner, and then another 2 seconds, make that 4 seconds rather, behind J.W. Miller. I think even at this point, Taylor Jordan may have already used up his stuff, because there is about 25 lap difference between the tires on the 36 and the tires in the 802, and you can see he's not really closing up all that fast on Peterson.
And I just keep watching Wagner, and he's getting that interval down in 1 and 2, like you mentioned, but he's just not able to get out of 3 and 4 the same way, and Miller just drives away.
See if we can go on board with Matt Wagner, kind of see where he might be gaining and losing time. Just through 3 and 4. Oh, even right there, you can kind of see the rear tires sliding up there off of turn number 4. Let's see if he looks a little steadier over here in 1 and 2. Not a lot of wheel motion, but you can definitely see, it's hard to tell if the back end is sliding out or if the front end is maybe, that right front tire heat's kicking in and kind of almost directing up to the right there.
And Eric Peterson used Joe McAdory as a pick. Jordan was looking high, and Peterson wanted low, so McAdory hung high and blocked Jordan, who was trying to make the run, but you could tell Taylor is coming.
Got some good battles going on right here in these final 15 laps. This third place battle between Peterson and Jordan, but also a good battle brewing for the final spot inside of the top 5. Jeff Hysong has got his hands full with Najee Camargo. And he's going to keep it there. Oh, did he get the wall? I don't think so, but it was close.
He didn't. He passed and doing it the hard way, so.
Yes, indeed.
Now we got to worry about Matt Wagner. Is he going to catch Wagner?
He's got a car he's got to deal with first. I think that's Elmer Joseph before he can deal with 3 of Matt Wagner. He can see Wagner up ahead. About maybe 10 car lengths between the 2 of them. The thing that's not on the side right now. Oh, Elmer Joseph! Right in front of the field. Caution!
I think Joseph had contact with Jordan. Jordan didn't.
Look out!
I don't think Joseph knew where he was going and ended up. Maybe he thought that Jordan wanted the bottom, so he hung high. And I don't know, but I'm looking at Jordan's car. I can't tell if that front wing has any damage or that steering has any damage.
And this is not what J.W. Miller wanted to see.
I don't even know if this is really what Taylor Jordan wanted to see either.
There you saw the contact there, the right front wing into the left rear tire. And right there, that was really close. I think that was Jim Brooks. Almost wiped out Elmer Joseph, who was trying to get his car down off the racing surface, down to that apron. Get another angle there.
Like I said, I really think it was just a little bit of indecisiveness where he just didn't know where Taylor was going. Where it looks like here Taylor wants the bottoms and he swaps to the top and he's just kind of caught out a little bit. And I don't want to blame that fully on Elmer there.
Elmer Joseph, I believe, had already used his faster pair, so that's more than likely the evening done for him, just about 10 laps away from the conclusion of tonight's race. It was unlikely he was going to improve on his running position, which was 14th. He was a lap behind Joe McAdory, 3 laps behind D.L. Lemon, so he was going to probably, whether it was on the racetrack or in the garage, going to finish in P14 tonight regardless. But certainly I think he would have liked to have finished under his own power as pit road open. We've got couple drivers coming down pit road there. One of them is Brad Youngman, and the other is D.L. Lemon. Youngman on the lead lap, Lemon 3 laps down. Glenn Lazan, I think, is going to get the free pass, but at this point in time, with going to be now less than 10 to go on this upcoming restart, and we need to remind everybody there are no overtime green-white checkers. We run the regulation 150 scheduled laps. It's very unlikely that we're going to have any more than the 10 drivers right now finish on the lead lap here tonight. But going back to your point there, this caution, maybe not something necessarily that Taylor Jordan even wanted to see, because as we saw there with that battle with Eric Peterson, it was only when they caught up to the lap car and Taylor Jordan was able to use him as a pick to make the move on Eric Peterson around the outside that he showed a little bit more speed than Peterson. Up to that point, it was almost like he had stalled out in terms of speed, as if he had already used up all the grip that those new tires had given him.
And I'm kind of looking at the 802, and I can't tell if it has damage or not. Because that's the big thing, where he's got the fresher tires, and yeah, he's been running them a little bit harder, but they're a little bit fresher. We've got a little bit less heat in them, maybe. And it's really going to depend on, does he have suspension damage? Does he have that front wing damage? I just don't see any. So, theoretically, he should be able to drive away, but you never know.
Trying to look back here from the rear of Matt Wagner, and visibly there, doesn't look like there's any damage on that front wing. We're specifically looking at the left front of that front wing, and I don't see anything abnormal. So aero-wise, looks like he should be okay, but tire-wise, who knows? As of right now, about 60 laps on the tires of J.W. Miller and Matt Wagner, about 35 laps on the tires of Taylor Jordan in third. Eric Peterson, Jeff Hysong, that's the top 5. Then it's Camargo, Morales, Forsyth, Brooks, and Youngman, the rest of the top 10. It's going to be a point in time here where the next flag's going to end the race. I don't think we're at that point right now. If we were to get a caution on this lap or 2-3 laps from now, I think we would still get back green, but there will be a point where these drivers are going to have to maybe race as if it is the last lap. Green flag back in the air here for Miller.
I see it, Jordan. You know Wagner's going to be trying to defend a little bit, but that looks like a teammate to him, so how hard do you defend?
We'll have to find out. I mean, Matt Wagner, it's been a while since he's been to victory lane. Of course, Taylor Jordan trying to make good on his debut here tonight with a W. Big send on the top for Wagner. Opens up the door. Here comes Jordan. Second place battle going on. We got a spinner. Peterson. No caution. You jinxed him, Matt.
Yeah. Man.
Up until this point. Oh, Morales in the wall there off of turn number 2.
But now the gap is about half a second. Do you think there's enough time?
There could be. I don't know. We'll have to see here. I thought we almost had another one around there entering into turn 1. There's Peterson.
I mean, you got to think it's not even
back pit road.
It's not even trying to just catch him. It's also you got to catch him and pass him.
Gotta pass him. Well, J.W. Miller picked up the first checkered flag of the season at the high-speed 2-mile racetrack in the Irish Hills of Michigan. Had a solid outing last week, finishing up inside of the podium in back-to-back weeks, and now trying to continue to make that average finish look really good, looking for 2 wins in the first 3 races. But that gap is visibly closing, Matt, this last time by 0.7 of a second and 4 laps to go at Phoenix.
I mean, think of this. Yeah, Taylor Jordan's been running it a little bit hard, but he's got 25 laps fresher on those tires. I mean, that has to be playing a little bit of a factor.
At this point in time, I think the next flag would end the race. If a caution came out, it'd be raced back to the caution, and the race would end under yellow. Peterson returning back to the racetrack there in the 36, albeit 3 laps down in 11th.
And it ruins Taylor Jordan's line. There's just a pinch. Knocks him up out of the track. I'm going to wonder how much it's going to cost him in time.
It'll be 2 laps to go this time by for J.W. Miller. Comes into this race as the points leader, and there is the caution. We're racing back to the yellow. Looks like the caution may have come out for Jeff Hysong, and J.W. Miller is going to pick up his 2nd win on the season in the first 3 races. The points lead will increase after tonight in the desert.
And it looks like it was Camargo and Hysong. They have
that would have been a 5th place battle, I do believe, in the closing stages here.
You know, honestly, that 59 is making this car look like a short track.
Let's take a look and see what happened here. It's a tough break there for Jeff Hysong, who looks like he's still going to finish in 9th. He was looking to maybe jump up into the top 3 in points. Defensive line there down the back straightaway against Camargo, who then
gave him the bump and run.
He did.
I don't know. I mean, that works in stock car. It just doesn't work in these IRL ones.
It's the bump and run if you move them up out of the way. It's the dump and run if they spin. So I think that was the dump and run.
Either way, I think this off week's definitely going to be needed, and I'm waiting towards Pocono. I mean, there's going to be, I think we're going to see kind of the same drivers that we do now, but we're going to see some other drivers who maybe just aren't that adept at road courses, or sorry, aren't that adept at short tracks.
Checkered flag was just displayed, and J.W. Miller, your winner here tonight at Phoenix International Raceway. Started from the 3rd position, got the race lead from Eric Schaus, then lost it to Taylor Jordan. But on strategy, got it back, put Jordan back in traffic, and was able to hold him off in the closing stages of this race. Kind of left with the what if we'd run those final 3 or 4 laps under green, would that have been enough time for Taylor Jordan to reel him in and be able to battle him for the race victory? But J.W. Miller bursting on the scene here. He made his
Dark
Horse Racing Series. Well, he wasn't sure of the turning radius of that ND car.
Yeah, let's go on the victory lane. Attaboy.
There you go.
And you got to think, being able to go back to back, even though in different weeks, I mean, that just means so much. Where it just shows that momentum isn't the one thing that's really keeping you here. It's the fact of, yes, you can win in multiple weeks, and it's not just, hey, momentum based. You can come to any track and know that you can kind of carry. I mean, that's what we saw so much out of Forsyth last season, where, I mean, you knew that no matter what track he came up to, I mean, he was probably going to be in contention for the win.
How about the numbers for J.W. Miller here in the first? Okay, that was interesting. That little, I'm not sure what that was, but I mean,
active suspension. I think he's cheating.
yeah, could have been. Is that thing gonna pass post-race inspection? Who knows? But you look back at the first start of the season at Michigan. Started on the pole, brought it home with the victory, coast to coast at a 2-mile racetrack. Last week, started on, or 2 weeks ago in New Hampshire, started on the pole, brought it home in third, and here tonight, started up on the podium in third and brings it home with a checkered flag. I mean, I know it's still very early on to say, but you think back to drivers that we've seen do this kind of thing before. You think of the Nick DeGroots, the Robert Maleska the thirds, the Craig Forsyths. I mean, almost looks like we could be looking at the guy that everybody's going to have to beat to be able to win this championship when we get to Indianapolis.
Mm-hmm.
Season's still young, though. Could have someone hit a streak. Let's look at the finishing results from tonight's event. A couple of good comeback stories in there. Matt Wagner bringing it home in the third position. Remember, he played the strategy on old tires, decided to stay out in a restart, and did not have that rear grip going into turn one. Bend into the outside wall, but brings it home on the podium. Taylor Jordan, good debut there for Taylor. Looking forward to seeing if he makes some more starts this season, what he's going to bring to the table. Missed the first 2 races, so who knows? He might be able to, if he runs the rest of the season, might be able to get in the conversation for the championship. We'll have to wait and see. Craig Forsyth bringing it home in fourth place, and as you said, the short track racer here tonight, Najee Camargo, yeah, he used that front wing to move people out of the way, but it nets him a top 5 run. I think that's his first top 5 on the season as well, so well done to him. Joseph Morales, he had issues in the early going, but he was able to bring it home in 6th. Jim Brooks, very quiet night for him, but a solid top 10 in 7th. Brad Youngman, he had to rely on a couple of lucky dogs to get back in the lead lap, but he gets 8th. 9th place for Jeff Hysong, who also had to rely on a lucky dog to get back in the lead lap. And then Glenn Lazan, 2 laps down, but he's going to net a top 10 performance here this evening. Eric Peterson, tough break there in the closing stages, looped it around off the exit of the front straightaway. No caution came out to save him. 3 laps down in 11th. D.L. Lemon soldiered on here tonight to finish in 12th. Joe McAdory brings it home in 13th. He was the last car running. Everybody else either finished on pit road or out of the race. Joseph, Eric Schaus, tough break there for the pole sitter in 15th. Brian Wright, Will Roberts, our winner last time out in New Hampshire, 17th tonight. Stouffer, Teed, Corley completing the top 20. And then Brandon Gates, Sheridan Wade, Thomas McConnell, and Luis Gonzalez Nunez. You can see they hardly got out of the gate. Very early exits from this race in the first 25 laps. William Swenson going to get credit for 25th. He put down a lap time in practice, but he did not make the grid for tonight's festivities. Time to go down trackside and see if we can talk with our podium finishers here tonight. See what they thought of the action here this evening in the desert. And let's kick things off with our third place finisher, the driver of the number 3, Matt Wagner.
There you are.
Hey, Matt. It's Matt and Seth up here in the F.A.R.T booth. You got us?
How you doing, gentlemen?
Oh, wild race here tonight. It looked like for you guys out there, a lot of lack of grip. It certainly appeared here at the low-banked racetrack. I mean, describe what you guys were feeling here during the course of these runs, because it certainly looked like you guys were battling the track, the car, as well as each other. A lot of things you had to think about tonight.
Yeah, so basically, this car has a lot of downforce on the front, so not very much on the rear. So when you go in the corner, when you With these hard tires, it takes about 4, 5, 6 laps for the tires to warm up, and then once you, I see a lot of drivers, including myself, would overdrive the car. You overheat that right front, and when you overheat the right front, bad things happen, as you saw on the racetrack. So it was been an eventful day. So I drove this car in the Indy 500. Actually, we did a little Indy 500 race in this car. So came back here in this car, completely different track. It was a battle of attrition for sure.
Now, I'm just go ahead and turn your mind back to that earlier incident where you're all the way in the lead, you drove away from the field, you entered turn one, and the car just stepped out. What in the world happened?
So basically, cold tires, 100%. Yeah, cold tires. Cold tires will do that. Like I was dumbfounded by it when the guys told me. It's like, Matt, you shouldn't drive it like that in the first lap. You give it a little bit of time. That's it. Forget, guys. This is like technically my first full race with this. But other than that, lesson learned, and I learned from that, and I got faster when I was trying to catch JW, and I was cooking off some pretty good lap times there. It was pretty quick, and pretty proud of myself. Learned something today.
So we've ended up having 2 races, New Hampshire a couple of weeks ago, here tonight at Phoenix, the somewhat low-banked racetracks. In 2 weeks' time, we head to Pocono Raceway, which is a track that has 3 corners, and oh yeah, the banking's completely different in all 3 of those corners. So with what we've had here at Phoenix and New Hampshire, what's the expectation of what this car is going to do, what it's going to feel like when we get to the Tricky Triangle?
So it basically, turn one is you're going to have a little bit of braking in turn one, definitely for sure. That's your slowest corner of that turn. So you'll be flat up through the tunnel turn in turn two, and when you get up to turn three, it's going to be about that high line. I wonder if that bottom line is going to work. Either the patch may work because I'm not sure if we're running the legacy one or not. If we're running the newer one, that top group would probably be king. Looking forward to it if I can make it. As you know, you guys commentate, and I gotta commentate Sunday night. So we'll see if I can make it or not. Hopefully, I can.
We're looking forward to it. Great run for you here tonight, though. As you mentioned, laid down some really good lap times there on that run just prior to the final caution. Thought might have a battle for the win on our hands, but a solid podium finish for you tonight, Matt. Before we let you go, the floor is yours for thank you, sponsors, and shoutouts.
Most importantly, I'd like to thank Charles Seed, Eric Peterson, Gary Corley for making this all possible. It's really, really set up well. The first race I've done with these guys, I think it was a practice race, and it was really, really done well. Just the short tracks is just a little bit tough for me. So I'd like to thank Unacceptable Racing, the league I run in different series. Shout out to Ricky Harden and guys. It's oh yeah, and Team Watson Racing. Love them boys back there. So guys, it's been an eventful day. I'm gonna go get some sleep.
Well, we hear you. Must have been an exhausting one out there, but solid run for you tonight. 3rd place. Congratulations. Go enjoy it. And yeah, hopefully we see you on the track in a couple weeks' time at Pocono. But if not, look forward to seeing you the next time we see you. Let's see if we can dial up our 2nd place finisher here tonight. Driver of the 802, Taylor Jordan.
Doesn't seem like we have him.
Ooh, elusive. Okay.
Came in with no knowledge.
I was really hoping we could get to the center of the X Factor tonight, but maybe have to wait another couple of weeks at Pocono. Do we have our winner, JW Miller, on standby? Yes, indeed we do. JW, Matt and Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us?
Yes, sir.
I'll tell you what a start to the year for you. Podium starts in all 3 races, podium finishes in all 3 races, 2 victories to start out the season. You're leading the point standings, but man, tonight kind of had to work for that one. You and that 802 mixing things up, came down to a strategy call. You put him back in traffic, were able to keep him in your rearview mirror. But I got to ask you, that caution comes out in the latter portion of the race. We know we're going to get ourselves at least one more restart to the checkers. Were you a little worried on the tire differential between you and him?
I wasn't quite sure. Obviously, clean air was king here again today. So I was hoping that I would at least be able to hold him back there, and we were doing a pretty good job of it. So I felt pretty confident about that. But yeah, it's kind of just, you know, driving facing forward and trying not to look in that relative too much. Trying not to focus on that for sure.
So let's play it back to about lap, 138, 139ish. You have about like a 2-second lead on Wagner. Jordan is he's still on his way, but he hasn't passed Wagner yet. You're feeling pretty good, and then that caution comes out. And what kind of happens there? Is it uh-oh, or is it, well, here we go.
Yeah, I mean, we felt pretty good on our chances there after we hit the final time. The tire wear wasn't too bad. So even, him coming in with brand new tires, um, I mean, I guess that the tire wear was bad, but the differential in the times that we were doing wasn't too different unless you were in clean air. If you were in clean air, then obviously the brand new tires really helped you, but yeah, I think it kind of just came down to dirty air for the most part because, like you probably saw earlier in the race, I was really struggling with getting around the lap car there. That was between me and Taylor, I believe it was, or Chouse. I can't remember exactly who, but yeah, it was definitely a difficult one. The high line just was not really viable, so it's kind of a one lane race there, but still a really fun combo. Really cool to see this car here.
Now, you brought up the lap cars, and that was going to lead into my next question. We ended up seeing here tonight, obviously, Phoenix a mile in length. The lap times you guys were ticking off. We knew that with some cars that were damaged and off the pace out there logging laps, that you guys were going to, at some point, encounter lap traffic if we got the long green flag runs. And we got a couple of them here tonight. How difficult was it to maneuver around those lap machines, and how much communication went into addressing what line you wanted to run when you encountered them? Because it looked like the closing rate on some of those occasions, on some of those encounters, were massive.
Yeah, there was definitely a little bit of confusion. Obviously, I was just trying to stay on the bottom where the best line was, but yeah, sometimes you can't get that. Sometimes you're just going too slow, but yeah, for the most part, all the lap cars have been pretty cordial with me, so I had no issues there myself.
Well, as stated, a great way to start out the season. 2 wins in the first 3 starts here this year. Obviously, going to be extending that points lead. A couple of drivers behind you in points struggling here tonight. Good momentum heading into Pocono next week, so we wish you luck with that. Before let's get back to celebrating your win here tonight at Phoenix, we're going to turn the mic over to you for some Victory Lane thank you, sponsors, and shoutouts.
Yeah, thanks to 4D Racewear for sponsoring the series. Thanks to you guys at FRN for broadcasting each week. And thanks to everybody over at Team Watson Racing for backing me up on all things racing that I do.
J.W. Miller, he gets the victory here tonight under the lights in the desert at Phoenix International Raceway. Second win on the season. Congratulations, JW. Go and enjoy that victory and enjoy your off week. We'll see you get back at it at Pocono in 2 weeks' time.
Thank you.
And that's going to bring our coverage to a close here tonight. There was a couple of unknowns coming into this race, Matt, about this type of configuration track, this type of race car, what it was going to bring about. I gotta say, we expected the cautions, but really was a lot of fun to watch the different lines these drivers had to run when they were in the side-by-side battles or in the battles for position.
Yeah, and realistically, it kind of brought a new kind of angle onto this track. I mean, we weren't running as fast as laps as we were in the previous season, but they were able to utilize that dog leg and kind of cut through it a little bit to save some time. And even though it was technically a slower lap, it was a more difficult car to drive.
Yeah, and you talk about the fact that these cars had a lot more power. We saw the difference between it at New Hampshire. We've seen that track in the past here for this series, and then here tonight, obviously at Phoenix. Do we go back to a bit of a norm for the drivers, what they're kind of used to at Pocono, or does the power in this race car have them have to change up their approach to that track as well?
I think it's really everyone's changing up their approach where we're seeing some guys who we saw last season dominate. I mean, look at Craig Forsyth. I mean, he has been fast, but he has not been in the question for the win here. And same thing for Wagner. We know how good Wagner is, and he's even struggling with the transition over to the new car.
Well, it's going to be the longest racetrack that we've been to so far this season. The 2.5-mile Triangle Speedway of Pocono will be there in 2 weeks' time, and you'll see it here on FRN. Next week, of course, Labor Day weekend, so these drivers will be off, and we'll see you guys on June 4th for the continuation here of the F.A.R.T NDCar series under the Dark Horse Racing Series banner. But Matt, it's been a wild one here tonight, an exciting one here tonight. Kind of wish we could have seen this thing finish under green, seen how close it might have been between Miller and Jordan, but congratulations once again to J.W. Miller on the victory, and I appreciate you joining me up in the booth here tonight.
Absolutely. Always a delight.
Thanks to everybody that tuned into our coverage here this evening. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Again, we'll see you in 2 weeks' time at Pocono. Hope you guys have a great Labor Day weekend. For Matthew Rodriguez, I'm Seth Cole. Good night, everybody, here from Phoenix, as you've been watching another broadcast courtesy of FRN, the Flat Out Racing Network.
This broadcast is the copyrighted work of Flat Out Racing Network and may not be rebroadcast, retranslated, or used in any form without the express written consent of Flat Out Racing Network and iRacing.com Motorsports Simulations. Flat Out Racing Network would like to thank you for your support